Hello and welcome to another episode of Black Lagoon Reviews.
Where we metaphorically slice and dice our way through horror films of old and new.
Nick, I'm sorry to do this to you. I'm Brundle Bry, your co-host. I know it isn't good. It's all I had. I'm Brian. I'm Brian.
I'm Maniac Hacks Exterminator.
Oh wait, no. I didn't think about that fits our dynamic, I guess. Maybe that works. This is the end of our Cronenberg marathon. It's been a long run, longer than I think either of us really expected. But we're at the fifth film in our entry. We will come back. We're to circle back to Cronenberg, cover all of the kind of odds and ends that we skipped over or haven't gotten to yet. But this is it.
I want to take a little bit of a break and do some more popular movies that have recently come out. David Cronenberg's The Fly. What not to do during a mukbang video.
All right. You're going to have to define that for me.
You don't know what a mukbang is?
No.
A mukbang is literally a video of a person eating copious amounts of food.
Oh, that's not nearly as bad as I thought it'd be.
You thought it was going to be something sexual.
I thought it was going to be something deviantly violent and horrible and vile. I wasn't sure what it was going to be. I thought it would be some like deep web 8chan nonsense that you're about to bring onto our show. Not that I just, But no, you're referring to the worst part of this movie where Brundle Fly throws up on his food and then slurps it up. It's horrible. It's really bad. He'd be great at a hot dog eating competition, I'm sure, but
let's get into our spoiler-free review before I throw up.
The rest of this video will have spoilers. I mean, you guys have probably seen The Fly or something. If you care a lot about spoilers, that's all right. Watch the movie. You can still listen to our quick spoiler-free review right now. This is great. I watched it as a kid. I thought it was wonderful.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, why not? This is, like I kind of alluded to in our reaction, I don't know if it'd make the final cut. This is a film that was introduced to me way too early, and it gave me a love for horror, but it also traumatized me in that special way. You can only get traumatized when you're too young for stuff. It left a huge impression on me. Rewatching it, I'm shocked that it really is still hard to watch. Like, there are moments that are actually hard to get through. I was super happy with it. Great makeup, great story. I am shocked that it's a Cronenberg film. I'm going to unpack that because this did not feel like any other Cronenberg movie I've ever watched. But I liked it. And you have to stick around to see if it makes my top horror movie list. I'm not giving that up easy. All right, Nick, tell me your spoiler-free synopsis. You're either frozen or... No, you're not. I saw your eye move. Oh my god, you're stunned. You're broken.
What?
Walk me through it, bud. What's going on?
So, watching this for the first time, Cronenberg stepped up.
Yeah.
Everything is better. The acting. The writing a little bit still needs work.
Mm-hmm.
I think mainly Cronenberg is there for his teasing and big reveals. Yeah, this one was really freaking intense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was expecting with Rabid, I guess.
Oh yeah, like body horror, like crazy, right?
Galore. And that's not what we got with Rabid. And I feel like if we were to put this on a list of a Cronenberg list, I definitely would rank this higher.
Should we, since it's the end of our first iteration of this, should we do a top Cronenberg film so far in the Guts of the Film section? Or maybe in Final Cut? Let's do it in Final Cut. We're good to go.
Guts of the Film. Let's get
Guts of the Film.
Guts of the Film.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to function throughout this episode. Especially, I didn't even know how to react during the reaction episode. That was very fucking hard to watch. I don't say that ever.
No, yeah, no. You've sat through some gory films, right? I mean, that's a big thing.
I'm very, I mean, the big J man over there. You know, I'm hardcore. I love the violence. This movie, oh my god, was it just stupendous? I
mean, it feels like such a natural fruition of Cronenberg. Like, we saw in Rabid this idea of, like, psychological body horror, of, like, mutilating a body without showing it, just terrifying you, learning about what could happen. And then in The Brood, we got more of that, of this, like, just perverting the human body and making it do things nature doesn't intend it to do. And then it just kind of... Scanners, to me, kind of fell off of that a bit, but it was a better film.
Yeah.
Videodrome took that real far, and that was something. This movie seemed to take the hyper disturbing Cronenberg style and make it as accessible as possible. And it felt very much like a movie theater movie. And it didn't feel anything like Cronenberg, but there were moments where, like, there's such a, like, for instance, if I were to watch, like, a slasher film or even just, like, a famous old school horror film, it would feel like fun violence is kind of like how I talk about those horror films. This in Cronenberg is never fun violence. It is psychically disruptive,
uncomfortable violence,
things that happen to people. Yeah, like, it tries to get under your skin. And what a great idea to take The Fly and put it to screen like this. With Cronenberg behind it, with Jeff Goldblum. Because Nick,
this is a movie you don't want to, like, take your girlfriend to and try to get her into the mood, for sure. I go with Videodrome for that, but yeah, this one, no. Or maybe Shivers. Yeah. Shivers for sure. Actually, now that I think about it,
I wonder if Cronenberg's the right director to begin with. Maybe it depends on your relationship. You go to Cronenberg for the ideas and the atmosphere and the intensity and the utter uniqueness of the stuff he comes up with, because it's insane and you can't get it anywhere else. This movie felt very, very restrained, or maybe restrained isn't the right word, I guess focused and accessible. This felt like Cronenberg for everybody. Like, if you had to introduce anyone to Cronenberg, I personally wouldn't choose The Fly because it doesn't feel like anything else that he's made, but I'd maybe say Scanners. And The Fly is just fascinating because nothing about this tells me Cronenberg. All the other films I've watched, I'd say, oh, that has to be Cronenberg. But this didn't say that to me. And that's kind of an interesting thing to wrestle with. I don't know, it makes me not really rank it that high in my favorite Cronenberg movies because it doesn't feel like a Cronenberg movie. Even though it's a fantastic movie, it's like, it doesn't feel like him.
Well, I feel like it's because it's a remake more than anything. This isn't his original work. So, the writing and stuff is kind of, taken a further back seat.
Yeah. He did write the screenplay, but you're right, he's deriving it from an existing short story.
Yeah, so that's probably why it doesn't really feel like Cronenberg.
To me, that's actually a big hit. Does that bother you at all? Like, I kind of just wanted more out of it, too.
Honestly, I got what I came for.
Yeah.
I'm finally satisfied. To me, this was a perfect way to end our Cronenberg marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I like Jeff Goldblum a lot, so there's no complaints here from the acting department. Everybody did an amazing job. The special effects were fucking awesome and just cringe-inducing, and I loved it. I loved it. So, just, yes, I loved it. It made me cringe. It made me want to throw up. It was so good. He definitely deserved an Academy Award for that.
Yeah.
Best makeup. Fuck yeah. I'm ecstatic. Honestly, I wouldn't, if we're ranking these, I wouldn't put it on my lowest. There are other movies that Cronenberg has done where I just felt it was very lackluster and didn't really grab my attention. Videodrome being one of those things. Not to say that there weren't some things that I didn't, take from it that I, didn't enjoy. I definitely wasn't enthused or entertained as much as The Fly.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like it's the perfect screenplay. Not that I really loved all the writing, but just in the sense that a thing happens and it slowly gets worse and then it ends. That's kind of all the movie needs to be. And there's such beauty and like economy in the script where it really is just this thing moves stuff from here to there, but what happens if a fly goes in? That's it. Like the story's now like you're merging on this very, like molecular level.
It's very linear.
It is, but it's almost like for Cronenberg, it's refreshing to have that much structure because his movies are normally insanely organic. It is always characters yelling the plot at you, but it's also really like the ideas are so organic and free flowing. And it's cool. Now this isn't hard science fiction. You don't watch this like you'd watch other films that really try to be like down in the dirt. This is what this would really be like. But it's a vessel for good entertainment and good horror, and that's all it really needs to be. Which is why there are some bits of writing that show not just a lack of interest in writing about science accurately, but a complete lack of familiarity with the basic tenets of what it would mean to do research. I'm surprised that I'm not as ecstatic as you are, because I know when I watched this the first time, it really quickly became a movie I was obsessed with. And watching it again, I feel like there were some things I kind of saw through and I didn't like as much. I think I thought that The Fly would be the epitome of Cronenberg, where we'd get the body horror he's known for, and we'd get the intensity that we've found in the old films that we just watched, and the depth. But it just felt so utterly different. It felt like there were a lot of other hands in the pot. So
I feel
I'm
like
kind of left a bit confused.
Your feelings are kind of flopped between me and you, compared to Videodrome, where I felt just utter blandness and just not really entertained as much. So that's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, I thought Videodrome is easily some of his best work, right? So there's definitely that. We're looking at different things.
So you said the guy who did the soundtrack for The Lord of the Rings did the soundtrack for this movie.
Howard Shore, yeah.
Which is surprising to think, because I didn't really enjoy the soundtrack this time around. Nothing. Really
I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't notice it ever.
Yeah.
Like it never stuck out. Like I can't name one song from it. So I don't really. I'd have to go back and listen.
Yeah. Nothing really stuck out. It was just there, but not very noticeable. So it's something that I just was kind of disappointed about.
And didn't Howard Shore do Videodrome too, or Scanners? Scanners, I think he also did, which was just brilliant.
Not sure. Scanners was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Don't even get me started on the soundtrack to Scanners. There was just so many like intense, chilling moments that made you feel unease.
It says Howard Shore did the soundtrack for it. Amazing. I mean, that was astonishing. All right. I mean, like the obvious appeal of this movie, it has almost like a freak show appeal to it, which is watch this guy slowly lose all of his humanity. And the cool thing is they really play with not just he's going to look different and it's going to be scary, but they play with he's going to think and act differently. And the science stops being the priority. He begins like loving being this, like what he thought is like the superior form. And then it started becoming him missing his humanity, and then all of his desperation losing his mind.
His mannerisms,
great
too, were amazing.
Really good.
Head twitched like a fly. The way he walked, his movement. I wonder how much he really studied for that role, because my God, it's just so fucking well done and put together.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job, definitely.
Which honestly surprises me that you didn't really enjoy it that much this time around. because this to me was fucking awesome. I loved it. So good.
I'm glad. This is one of the movies from the beginning of the podcast. I feel like it's going to be tough. We're both there's I think 3-second delay between our feeds right now.
It's fine.
It's going to be tough. So I think this is one of the movies I think I brought up since like the beginning of old school podcasts from the Black Lagoon, and it's been probably like 5 or 6 years since I've watched it. So it's interesting to come back to it after all this time. And I think I felt like all of the payoff I got. The acting is still great. The body horror is wonderful. The makeup, everything. I think I'm just kind of... all the stuff in between was kind of mediocre to me. The romance felt forced. A lot of the exposition just felt really, really dumbed down and not much thought being put into it. And I think I'm just kind of reminding myself that this isn't Scanners or The Brood or Videodrome. It's the theatrical release. It's the new version of The Fly. And in that regard, it's like an amazing standout film. But I really did feel like, God, it's like there's so much of the life force of Cronenberg that isn't in this movie. It just feels kind of vacant compared to his other films. I wish we could have gigantic funding, gigantic actors, gigantic swing, and still that Cronenbergian charm. But that's like the low-budget beauty of Cronenberg's kind of was lost in this to me, even though it's a great film, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like he had some soul, like a DIY soul to him in the old films.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Again, this is a remake of a 1958 movie that starred Vincent Price, which was inspired by a short story. So, yeah, there's gonna be, some soul missing, but to say the least, this is, for a remake, this is amazing. This is fucking good. Really freaking good. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I almost wonder if, like, remake is the right word for it. Because, like, part of me wants to say, like, they remade the Price one. But it also almost feels like we don't... Maybe people do call it that. But, like, when a new Batman movie comes out, it's not always, like, a remake of the last Batman. It's, like, a new iteration of the source material. It's like a reboot or, like, something like that. But, like, this almost feels so divorced from the Price one, which we should definitely watch because it's fun. Entirely different, but fun.
We'll definitely get to it.
Do you have any other final thoughts on this film that are really sticking out to you?
Nope. All I gotta say is this was fucking awesome.
Good stuff.
I can't wait to open this. Once we cover every single one of these movies, I will finally unwrap this from the plastic that it is encompassed in. But until then, she goes back on the display, and yeah, this was a long time coming. Since the beginning of the podcast, we talked about doing The Fly, and now that our old podcast is kind of just a bygone era of our past, it's kind of bittersweet that we've come this far, and we finally covered The Fly.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it. I guess that's it for Guts. It's time to get straight into the eulogy and lay this film to rest.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. May God be with this young man's soul. And may Rod Lane rest in peace.
David Cronenberg's The Fly. Disgusting. How are we burying this movie, and what are we burying it with, Brian?
You have streamlined this segment. Let's put it in teleportation pod with what's something hideous? What could we do?
A dildo.
With
A used dildo.
oh, that's all right. That's sure. I guess that's canon now. All right. Maybe not the respect the movie deserves, but that's how it's being buried after, in commemoration of its life to the audience at its burial, you just said the word disgusting and then killed it. So it's interesting.
Actually, you know what? Let's go with a regurgitated donut.
Oh, yeah. That was a really rough scene to watch. That had some shock value to it.
Okay, the movie The Fly, we put it in a teleportation device. A fly flies into the teleportation device, and then it fuses together, becoming the fly. Then we have it slowly but surely loses all humanity and becomes more fly-like.
Okay.
And then we put it out of its misery via shotgun blast.
Okay. That was more accurate than your inaccurate synopsis, Nick, about what this movie was. That was just a retelling of The Fly.
Now we're burying it with a regurgitation on a donut.
Yeah.
And that poor dude's jerkin hand. Oh my god.
His hand burned off. That's scary.
Either that or the guy who broke his hand during the arm wrestling. He can't.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be... He's gonna have to switch to a lefty.
That's a bad day. I'm going to throw in Carl Sagan's book Contact, which was proudly displayed in the editor's office, which I thought was a nice nod to good hard science fiction. I thought that was a nice little touch. He was on the bookshelf behind him.
The things that you notice that just go right over my head.
Okay. It is time for voices.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Oh.
You look like you're hearing voices.
No, just silence. Christoph 92300 posted on the 4th of June 2013, gave it 3 stars, entitled it Weak and Cheap. The Fly starts off pretty slowly. The time to set the base of the plot. Obviously something is going to happen with the machine, but the twist doesn't seem to show up. Once the movie reaches its pivotal point, the script struggles and doesn't exploit correctly the plot, which on paper is interesting. Which is interesting though. And the story unfolds too linearly to captivate the viewer's attention. The movie even takes in its last part a frankly ridiculous and dispensable creepy turn. In fact, The Fly resembles more of a B movie or a bad TV movie, and this feeling is emphasized by the very cheap and blank cinematography, the insipid dialogues, and the far from transcendent performances of the cast.
I can see that being a real take that people have, where for us, the movie didn't really happen until we got those heavy-hitting scenes, and it kind of fell into its own. I can definitely see other people thinking the movie existed in all of those little spots of the scientist meeting the girl and the girl's tension with the editor, and then it just got into this weird, violent territory. I get that. I could see how someone who's maybe unaccustomed to this genre would be confused about that, especially because this movie isn't straightforward horror. Like, this isn't obvious horror. This is Cronenberg. Cronenberg is never just a horror film. It has other elements in it that really make it more of a stew of genres. So I can get that. The B-movie reference, I think, is less of an indictment of this film's quality and more an indictment of this person thinking that hyper-violence doesn't happen in mainstream cinema. You know, like, I think this person might just not be used to seeing something that grotesque, because that to some people rings of like tastelessness. But to me, in a movie about the horror of losing your own humanity, show me the horror of it, right? I think this is great. It did that. I'm terrified of it.
Fucking awesome.
Great, yeah. What do you think about his comment?
I mean, yeah. You do you, boo.
I like that response. Okay, that's good.
Let's get to this.
So, there is no publicly available Ebert review of this movie, but I couldn't track down the transcript of the Ebert and Siskel either. Their great review show, but I did find the actual episode, the episode of their 1986 Ebert and Siskel review. I played a bit of it and fast forwarded to the part where they talk about The Fly. Neither of these people are necessarily lovers of the horror genre, but they do appreciate some of the more artistic entries in the genre. Shockingly, Gene Siskel, who's kind of Ebert's, I would say, more picky counterpart, said that The Fly is a great adventure and a fine love story and one of his favorite movies of the year, which is pretty astonishing because this movie gets pretty grotesque. Ebert said it was easily in his top 20 of the year, which I don't know if that's good. And then he said Jeff Goldblum definitely deserves an Academy Award. Gene then said, "This is one of the first science fiction stories I've ever seen that made me believe in it. It wasn't just the makeup, it was the storytelling. It all felt so plausible." They loved this movie. They really genuinely liked it.
Plausible, as in, this... I'm gonna conduct an experiment. This is the teleported steak. Yeah. I'm letting you know that this is the teleported steak. Let me know what you think. Oh, it takes off? I wonder why. Could it be because I told you it was the teleported steak?
You can't do science if you don't understand how priming works. You can't prime a subject before you give them stuff. The whole point is anonymity, and then they give you an honest response, and then you do that with a big sample size, and then you rule out people anticipating a test.
Throw a baboon into the teleportation device.
Immediately. It's the only way it works.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
There's a sense of to me, this tried to be hard science fiction, but nobody really cared that much about the science part of it, which is fine because it's not what it's trying to be. I do wonder how much it could have been elevated if it was really into the marrow, a science fiction.
But that is very shocking that they enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
Especially with the gratuitous violence and the sexual acts and stuff. But yeah, what are you gonna do? There's people have different tastes and stuff. It's just Ebert and Siskel that surprises me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I enjoyed this movie. You enjoyed this movie a little less than you used to, but this movie had a long-lasting impact, and now it is time to get straight into the final cut. Alrighty. I'm gonna give this an 8. An 8
Okay.
out of 10 slashes. This was a really good movie. This blew everything that we saw of Cronenberg's out of the water 100%. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10 slashes.
Okay.
A little bit more. If it weren't for the linear writing, if it weren't for just the lackluster plot, that honestly, everything about this movie was all about the special effects. That's to me, everything about this movie was about the special effects. It was about the horrifying realities of the science experiments on teleportation, the loss of a man's humanity from going to man to fly, just this grotesque, disgusting, mortifying scenes of, fly behavior that I didn't really think could be a thing, but there you go. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And for that, it gave me it made me feel something, and it deserves the 8.5. The person that did the special effects makeup deserved that Academy Award for sure. Good job on him. Sure, he enjoyed that award because he definitely fucking earned it. What would you give this movie? First, I will ask you, as a child, what would you have given the movie?
Oh wow.
And now seeing this movie for another time, what would you give this movie? So
when I was younger and I saw this, I think there's something about a well-made thing that just hits you hard. It doesn't matter in what way. It doesn't matter if it's like a drama that makes you think differently about the world, or if it's like a horror film that terrifies you. It shows you. Go ahead.
Especially with an underdeveloped mind, seeing something that grotesque for the first time can definitely leave a lasting imprint on your psyche.
Yeah, there's an implication there that, wow, this thing, a movie, is really powerful that it can do that. And that's that's an astonishing thing to realize. Like, after I watched Invasion, I said this in our Invasion episode, I just sat outside on the stoop and stared off at the night sky because I was scared of the world. It made me rethink about things about existence that are terrifying. This movie had a similar effect, I think, of just slouching off of humanity from this character. It was terrifying. I would give it, back then, I'd say 9 out of 10, because I'd seen nothing like it and had no idea that movies could be like that. That was an introduction into horror as a fruitful theme to explore in a movie. That was probably one of the first few times that I really saw that. Now, I give it a 7 out of 10. I give it a 7 out of 10, and I won't go into the particulars necessarily why, but I just want to say, if The Thing didn't have any of the amazing body horror and effects, if they were taken out, and it were reshot as a film where you never quite see what's happening, I would still love that movie so much for the performances and the soundtrack and the tension. That movie exists not just in the scenes when terrible, horrible things are happening. It is a whole world. I would still love it. It would still probably be my favorite movie. This movie, if I were to take out the payoff scenes, I don't love it. I don't care that much. The acting was great, but the writing really makes it hard to care that much about the characters.
Right. It's as a movie itself, it is not a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But as entertainment, it was fucking fun.
It's a great vessel. Yeah, it's a great vessel for an entertaining story, I think.
It's
but yeah, I think
it's something to smoke weed too.
There you go.
smoke a joint and just fucking enjoy yourself. Have a couple of beers, crack a cold one with the boys, and sit down and watch The Fly. Boys or girls, whoever you're hanging out with, I don't fucking care. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really did expect with Cronenberg to always feel, before I watched him, I expected to always feel like it's going to use body horror as a crutch. To my surprise, all of the films we watched of his so far up until this point were relatively void of that. They were just solid ideas and interesting takes. And so now I find myself completely inverted, wishing that this had some of that soul that I love so much in the old Cronenberg films. But now it's time to rank our Cronenberg films, huh?
Yes, it is. Would you like to go first?
I want you to go first. Okay. You've got your pen and paper over there. Let's hear it.
So we're going from lowest to
interesting. Yeah. Okay.
To highest.
Good.
Okay. So number 5, I'm giving it to Rabid. I honestly the way the movie ended, there were a lot of issues with the film. I just didn't enjoy it as much, to be honest. It was very lackluster. I much enjoyed Shivers more than Rabid, which is kind of weird. It kind of felt like he did a little 2 steps back instead of 2 steps forward. Number 4, giving it to Videodrome. Again, I enjoyed the merging of sex and violence, pornography being a bad thing. That hits very close to home for me, obviously, because I'm just making dick jokes left and right here, people. But yeah, pornography is definitely like a huge issue. At least overstimulating yourself is a huge issue. I feel like porn in itself isn't bad necessarily. It's just too much of one thing is of anything is bad for you. So, but it definitely better than Rabid. I also liked the VR headset. Fucking awesome. But wasn't really intrigued with the movie, as you can see in the reaction. Number 3, I'm giving it to The Brood. It was a fun movie. I definitely enjoyed it. Lackluster acting, but it was fun nevertheless. Definitely enjoyed a lot of the little milkmen running around.
It's a fun touch.
Number 2, I'm giving it to Scanners.
Okay.
Scanners was an amazing movie. I loved the soundtrack for sure. Actually, you know what? No. Now I'm quite perturbed. I'm kind of in a stalemate here between Scanners and The Fly. On one hand, I liked Scanners. I thought it was fun. I loved the special effects. I definitely most enjoyed the music for sure. It was amazing. The story was a little Star Warsy. Now I thought about it, going back and editing that episode, I was making Star Wars jokes left and right without even realizing it's very close to home with Star Wars.
Interesting.
So with that being said, it was kind of like not as not as good as it can be. And then there's The Fly, where we don't really pick up until way into the final act of the movie, when we're really seeing the transformation of Seth Brundle becoming Brundlefly, which is by far amazing special effects. Not that I'm discrediting what went on there, but the soundtrack didn't really hit it for me this time. It was very lack thereof. Not that there wasn't a soundtrack, but just something that didn't really stand out. Mm-hmm. It just kind of took a back seat, and that's why I kind of just didn't really enjoy it as much. Although I was very stoked for this movie, kind of leaning more towards The Fly going to number 2 and Scanners being number 1. I really fucking enjoyed that head explosion scene. Oh my god, so fucking cool. So yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. I mean, there it is.
Yeah, Rabid 5, Videodrome 4, Brood 3, The Fly 2, and Scanners 1.
Okay. Wow. Is it fair to say you kind of didn't really vibe with the most of the movies we watched by Cronenberg? Is he just kind of not your director?
I will say I was kind of expecting more.
Yeah.
But I will give credit where it's due. He did some pretty gnarly shit. But not my favorite of all time. There are people out there that have made far better movies, but to say that Cronenberg is the worst director of all time, nah.
It's not even on the table. Yeah, I don't even know whether anyone. I haven't heard that one. I feel like being introduced to Cronenberg live on YouTube is an interesting experience. Because I hadn't watched any of his films knowingly. I saw The Fly a while ago. I had no idea it was Cronenberg. So going through these movies from an early point from his filmography up to The Fly, skipping around a bit, I found a director I get down with. Like, I get it. This is great. I'm like there for his insane ideas. And like with any cult director, like a director that has like a small but passionate following, there's stuff that is there are some distracting parts about him and the way he works that are going to push a lot of people away. I think that's what makes a cult film. So, and I think he has a lot of that quality. There are things about his movies that are going to push a lot of people away. But if you happen to like the stuff that he's peddling out, you're going to really like it. And I really liked it. I'm hard on movies. Unfairly hard on movies. I try to not be. But regardless of clear, imperfect films that he put out, I loved a lot of these. And even when I didn't necessarily think they were my favorite, I respected the life out of the risks. Like, I love a director with big swings. This is like, the ideas here, I don't even know how he got a film funded to, like, The Brood. Like, who thought of that, you know? It's amazing.
Yeah, I've already asked this question, but have you ever seen Nightbreed?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god. I cannot wait to show you Nightbreed. That's cool. Gonna be an amazing movie. You're gonna finally see Cronenberg's acting chops, and
oh yeah,
we've already seen his acting chops, but we didn't realize it was Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Especially in The Fly. So yes.
Cool.
Yes.
I'm up for it. All right, my Cronenberg listing. 5 is Rabid. That's an easy one for me. I felt like the movie had some really interesting ideas. They weren't distilled properly. They weren't executed properly. But there was a hint at how great Cronenberg could be in that very, very final scene, where this character that we've been focused on for so long is just unceremoniously loaded into a garbage truck, crushed, and then driven off into the desolate Canadian city. It's just kind of like astonishing to end a movie like that. And then The Brood. The part of me that is vastly interested in like classic psychology, like all of the dumb bullshit that's really interesting to read about, like Freud and Jung and all that. I'm into that fake stuff a lot. It's cool to see someone make a movie out of it. The Brood is insanely. It has such a deep conversation about psychotherapy. It's really cool. Cronenberg, he like repeats themes a lot, and a lot of it's like sickness, and then mental sickness, and then medical figures and perhaps distrust of them, and a lot of these themes like that we see come up again and again, and he covers them in different ways, like little archetypes. It's really neat. So The Brood is great. Amazing ideas. The execution wasn't perfect for me. That's why it falls on 4. 3 is The Fly. It's a good movie. Great effects, great acting. To me, it is hard to feel like it fits in with the rest of Cronenberg's filmography. I really want to watch movies after The Fly to see how much he changes, because it's possible I was just really into this DIY spirit of his in his early films. Even when he got a big budget for like Scanners, you still felt some of that, like young, passionate directing and writing. Like you had that fire. The Fly to me lost a bit of that, but it was still an astonishing movie. My second would be Scanners. Great. It had the great ideas, and it had the great execution. That's all I wanted from Cronenberg. He did it. It was great. Wonderful. Classic
Amazing
film.
Ending.
Everything about it was wonderful. the effects, the soundtrack. It's just kind of the perfect epitome of Cronenberg. However, why is that not number one? It didn't swing hard enough. It wasn't risky like The Brood.
You need that big swinging dick.
You need yeah, I guess maybe that's it.
Go on.
Maybe that's
Go
how
on,
you get
say
funding.
it.
Is that how you get funding? Is that Cronenberg? Oh, no. Okay. In a world of sound bites, I won't dare. The Brood, Rabid, Scanners, huge swing, risky, or not Scanners as much. Videodrome is my absolute definitive Cronenberg film. Not because I think it's a better movie than all the other ones, in my opinion it is, but also because it is through and through Cronenberg. Like, if I had to introduce somebody to him, and I wasn't trying to pamper to something that might be too much of an assault on common taste, I would say watch Videodrome. Because it has all of the weird, subtle sexual stuff he's like fixated on. And then it has the lofty statements he's trying to make. And then it has this deep idea about the emptiness of modern life and the hollowness of consumerism, where he's just relating like everything to, like, he's relating basic cable to the hollowness of pornography. It's just such a fascinating movie. It's such a weird thought experiment. And he did it with a gigantic budget and a fascinating story and insane effects. And this weird prescient thing about VR headsets becoming this terrifying thing where humans lose their humanity. And now we have them and they look similar, and now we're just like, it's normalized. And his whole thing is like, the things that make us lose our humanity become routine. Like basic cable. And VR is routine. It's like this idea of slowly merging with a different world, a world that isn't connected to the things that were around. This idea that we'd have organs that would help us watch television. I know nothing like it. It's a big swing, and he pulled it off, and it's great. I think Scanners is more masterfully made, but Videodrome to me is the ultimate Cronenberg film out of the 5 we watched.
Well said, well said. Well, that does it for our Cronenberg marathon. That does it for our review on Cronenberg's remake of The Fly. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching us, and stay tuned for more movies, more reviews. Even go ahead and check out our little gaming channel for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
It's a little breath of fresh air for us. We like to have fun time to time.
And remember that we cover movies that you guys tell us to cover. If there's a movie you've watched that's like, oh, this is insane, you have to see this. If it's some weird underground film that you're like, I don't know who's going to watch this, we're going to watch it. That's our thing, all right? Send us weird, cool movies that you like, and we'll watch them and give them a fair shake. Not because we're the arbiters of what is good cinema, but because we want to experience as much horror as we can. We love the genre, and that's it. Let's have fun. Let's talk about this stuff. So send it in. We'll add it to our list. There is a real list. We're not just saying it. There's a real list. We are keeping track, and then we'll watch it. So, thank you guys for sticking around.
Yep. Bye-bye.
It's very long at this point. Bye.